never too late. Never. Dreams have no deadline. You're called to what you need to be doing at the divine right time. And it's learning to trust.
Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment, guys. As usual, it is my honor to take a little break, a breather, if you will, and welcome our guests because I know they're coming with a couple of things I deem very expensive. Time, 24 hours. What a wonderful gift has been offered to every one of us. 24 hours. What we do with that 24 hours will tell me much about you. The other is the journey. Journey is a powerful creator. It took Anne and it created her. But while it took her and embraced her for many years, it deposited things within her that we want access to. And she's coming, allowing herself to become vulnerable before us. And so we want to honor her and thank her for coming and being here with us at Threads of Enlightenment. Anna, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, it's my honor, Ken, truly.
It's an honor to have you. As I told you, once someone comes on the podcast, one of my very first questions is a very simple question that I ask people. And it's based on your assignment here on this planet that we're called to do. And my question to you is this: how do you serve mankind?
We're starting with just a little question,
Just a little one.
just a small one, Ken. Okay,
Tiny.
we'll dive into the deep end.
Yeah.
It's been a journey getting to this point, but how I'm serving now is sharing everything I've learned, sharing the lessons I've garnered along the way through this life. It's been a roller coaster, most people, ups and downs, and I've gathered some tools along the way, spiritual tools, tools that keep me centered, that keep me focused on what I am to do. And the thread, if you will, since we're talking threads of enlightenment, has been a seeking from my own heart for what my purpose is exactly. What am I here to do? And I know in my heart that each of us has a unique gift, something that we're here to share, to leave behind. Spiritual legacy, if you will, a heart legacy. And my seeking my own purpose has been the foundation of what I've done and how I've learned spiritual tools, how I've learned, mind body tools, all of these things that I've used to find it. And my purpose is sharing how and helping other people figure out what their purpose is, particularly people midlife, because I think there's a point where, particularly for women, I'll speak for women, we get to a point where we've served others, we've taken care of the family, we've done the job, and maybe gotten a little lost or forgotten about our own individual unique purpose. So I believe right now what my purpose is, and sometimes that changes in our life during our lifetimes, is to help others, help light the path for others, help them find clarity as to what that unique gift is, first of all, and then using the tools that I've garnered along the way to how to manifest that, how to really bring that to life and let them find that focus, that fulfillment, that gift, that thing that they're here for, to serve mankind.
Yeah, I'm going to venture out to say somewhere about 85 or plus percent of people don't know who they are and where they came from and what they're about to do. One of the places that I worked was a skilled nursing facility at the end of my career. And I remember being there and witnessing people in their 80s and 90s, some older, did not have a clue as to who they were. And I thought some of the most painful lessons that I've seen where someone didn't allow themselves the opportunity because of the busyness of life. As you stated, many of the women and were for the family, also the men providing for the family, family, family.
Absolutely.
And we get onto that program that they have told us that this is how it ought to be. And before you know it, we're 89 years, 80 years, 60 years, 70
Yeah.
years, and we have not begun to live. One of our customs here, and is to go back, I call it the beginnings of our beginnings. We visit certain spaces as we are moving through life to become an adult, if you will, independent. The very first location that we stay in, roughly sometimes 18 years plus, sometimes a little less, is the family. In this location right there in the family, we're going to learn a couple of things. And we're going to learn communication skills. We're going to learn our beliefs is going to start being developed right there. We're going to start developing our patterns of behavior. Our mindset limitations will start there also. We are going to start perceiving and making decisions based on our perception as we are being programmed through all of these pieces that I've just mentioned. What was your family unit like?
Midwest background, so work ethic very strong. I was the third child of four, and older sister, older brother, and I was the baby. So there were expectations. My sister was the first one, kind of the one that was, well, she was probably 6 when my brother was born. So she was the primary person, had all of these possibilities. My brother in traditional my family, English, Irish background, he was the boy. He's doing that, and I was just kind of this cute person, the little one, the baby, if you will, without many expectations. So it came with my actually having, in an interesting way, a blank slate.
Hmm.
But I had to learn, and it's still a process, how to remove those settings that my family kind of put on. Oh, you're this one, you're smart, the labels that sometimes get applied to children, or husbands, wives, all across the way, to learn to dissolve those set points so that I could find who I really am, what my story is, not the story that I inherited
Yeah,
from my parents. And that's a process. It can be a
always.
process. Yeah.
What was your communication skills outside of family? Because we learn a bunch of things within the family, as I said, and then we start practicing and exercising our ability to communicate with others. What was your communication style with others? How were you developing as the baby, if you will, in that family unit?
I was the proverbial child that would hide behind her mother's skirts.
Hmm.
So I started with this just terrible shyness and insecurity and almost afraid to interact with others. My upbringing, not terribly surprising for my generation, was children should be seen and not heard. Once I started getting out into the world, starting to get into a job, it was like things exploded. I found my own communication style, learning, taking the best of what my parents gave, which was service, finding a way to serve others, doing the absolute best I can in any situation. But I like to write, so I found it was easier to write and communicate that way than necessarily open up and speak one-on-one. That was a process of really getting comfortable with that. I'm grateful for some of the jobs that I was guided into because they really helped me learn how to be comfortable with strangers, to stand up in front of others and that I don't know, and be confident and comfortable in who I am and what I was offering.
How old were you when you were gravitating? You started gravitating to writing. What age do you think you were? What was it that caused you to gravitate towards writing? I know the shyness has may have a part of it, but yet, what was it that you saw or you were able to do within writing that you couldn't do?
I think it started like junior high, maybe 8th grade, but it really came into fruition when I got into high school. And I started writing poetry. I was able to kind of express my humor through
Yeah.
my writing. I had fun. It let me play. I love playing with words and the
Hmm.
rhyming and just coming up with fun things, bringing a little bit more of my personality out that I wasn't as comfortable doing face to face yet. And I was surprised at the response. Honestly, I had amazing response to what I wrote, and people just resonated with the humor and the lightness of it or the depth of it even later. And I just kind of had always been drawn to the written word, ended up with a degree in journalism. So
Yeah.
it was a good fit.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Owning the writing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what, but you told us what the degree you got and why you got it, basically. And here's this
Yeah,
young girl. She's shy. She's finding her voice because, as you said, the mantra of that time is children are to be seen and not heard. And
exactly.
as you are being obedient to the mantra at home, at school, you're able to express self through writing. You are now in college and you made your decision that you're going to be a writer and so forth. You got into college. You said this is where you started um, spreading out your wings, if you will. Talk to us as to what spreading out your wings in your mind represented while you were doing it at that time.
It really was a blossoming. I had the opportunity to explore different things. One of the first classes I took in college was international and world religions. I was fascinated, absolutely fascinated by that. I had been raised in the Catholic Church
Hmm.
and it never resonated. That story just never felt right for me. So I started my spiritual exploration with that course and then just, being out in the world. My creativity started to unfold, these aptitudes and these skills that I didn't really know I had. I had the freedom and the opportunity to explore and to really start, well, let's try this. And you're creative. You can creativity came out through architectural classes that I took and really finding those pieces of me that needed to be expressed that I hadn't had the opportunity to as a child, not uncommonly.
Yeah, as a child, again, you're under the restrictions of the
Mhm.
parents and their programming and their belief, if you will. One of the programmers are those micro programmers like the family, and religion also is a programmer that will begin to tell us certain things. Even in religion, there is so much limitation, guilt, and all the different things that you gain from that institution, if you will. As you are in college, one of the classes you took is about learning about spiritual ness, if you will. Excuse me. As you are beginning to delve into that topic, the data that you're receiving, because you're receiving a lot of data from that particular class, and the fact that you are excited about it tells me that there is some degree of changing that will be taking place right here because of learning and all the different things that you're going to be open, if you will, open. And when one is open in the realm of spirituality, lots of fun things begin to happen.
Yes,
Talk to
they
me
do.
as to what was happening to this young girl spreading her wings, getting into many different aspects of learning, and is beginning her journey within the spiritual realm. This must be some type of exciting time. Talk to us about that.
It really, truly was. I had been terrified to make a decision. I was fearful. I was living in fear. What if I make the wrong decision? Can I ever go back? In high school, I read the Robert Frost poem, The Road Not Taken. And I knew I wanted to take the path not taken. But in my naivete, if you will, my childish ignorance, not in a negative way, but just not knowing, I was like, oh, if I go this way, I can't go back. I
Let
can't
me ask you
change.
something, Anna. Where did you pick that up from? That's an interesting concept, interesting perception.
Mhm.
Where did you get it from?
Oh, that's interesting. It had to have come from the paradigm from the family, but I've never really assessed to see what that first thread is on that. but that was the feeling. It's like you make a choice and then you follow through. I think it's might be tied with the work ethic. You
Yeah.
make a commitment and you stay with it and you do
Yeah.
that. But my explorer's nature, and I'm on every level in my life, an adventurer and an explorer. I wanted to try all of the different paths.
Yeah.
So I started to realize that I had the agency to
Hmm.
change. I
Yeah.
didn't have to follow that. I can change my mind. I can start a path and nope, this isn't the right fit. And I can change. And that was sort of the beginning of my finding my purpose, finding my path.
Talk to me about that because that is, even though you are saying it just nonchalantly, it's a powerful statement that you're declaring because here you were governed for years about within this restriction about if I start, I'm afraid to start if and all these different things. And then you began to experiment and start and say, wait a minute, I could change my mind. That
Mhm.
is powerful for someone that has embraced, that has been embracing the other concept for a while. When you begin to realize, if you will, that you can pivot, I can start, I can choose. When you began to experience that type of freedom, how did you manage yourself there? What was your relationship with self, and how was things going along with this young woman as she's experimenting, if you will?
Yeah, it was. And this was in college really when this really started opening because, away from home, away from that paradigm,
Yeah,
having the opportunity to, it's like, okay, what popped into my mind is like 31 flavors, Baskin Robbins. It's like, I love ice cream too. Maybe
yeah,
that's why. But having the opportunity, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Let's explore that. Let's find that,
yeah,
exploring languages, exploring different cultures. Starting to travel was huge for me. I liked history. History was interesting in high school, but it was a little boring. But when I put my feet on the ground in another country,
yeah.
I felt it.
Which
I could
area did you travel, Anna? Was it more Europe? Where did you go?
Initially, it was Europe, a trip in college, and I had been always been extremely drawn to Greece,
Yeah,
and I was walking around just like I'm walking with Aristotle. I am walking with I'm
yeah.
not kidding, it sounds crazy, but it's like
No,
I could feel the presence, I could feel the energy, and I had some very interesting, enlightened situations happen.
yeah,
I was and I'll share this, it was still kind of surprises me, but we were staying with people that were Greek. And in the car driving one night, it was just one of those magical nights. I don't remember what we'd been doing, but this energy of connection to
yeah,
this history, these thousands and thousands of years of culture in this magnificent country. The couple in the front seat were speaking to us in English, and then, as you're driving at night, we're in the car, quieted down, and they started speaking in Greek, which I couldn't even pronounce a street name. I could do the rest of Europe. I studied German and
yeah,
French, and Greek, forget it. It was literally Greek to me. But they started speaking in Greek, and all of a sudden they laughed and I laughed, and it was funny. They'd said something funny, and then we all they turned around and looked, and they go, "Did you understand? What did we say?" And I reiterated the conversation completely,
yeah.
that I had heard. Somehow in my mind, I was on a different energy level, a different
That's
frequency.
happened to me.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, and I knew what they were saying. I was, like, almost levitating in my soul
Yeah.
being in this place. The connection was so strong. I've had that a few places, but that was the first time, so it was pretty enlightening.
Yeah, it happened to me several times. So I know exactly what you're
I love
talking
I l
about. Again, I believe that those that are in tune with the spiritual realm have access to data, that many that are not sensitive, that do not access that data. The data is there. There are data all over the place. In psychology, they say there's data in the quantum realm. When you look at religion, they say the data is in the heavenly places. Those are the same location that you go, just different terminology within different fields, but it's there. And that we call it the library that is there within the spiritual realm. And one has access to it through language, but a sensitivity of the spirit will receive that data and one can interpret from a different language and laugh. As Anna said, it is I've seen it a million times. I tell people, and when you travel, it opens up your being. It changes the being,
It
your
does.
literal being. And I always tell people, get out and travel because when you mingle with cultures and people and languages and the food, the air, all of that, it changes the being. As this young woman is being impacted, if you will, by the openness of her mind, her learning capability as she's moving in within the spiritual realm. And you graduate, you got your piece of paper, and this is good stuff. Now, where did she head from that particular area? Because the program is you go to school, you go to high school, you go to program, get your degree, and then you go to the professional arena. This is the program, and we follow that obediently until life happens. Talk to me as you moved in, you got your job. What was this young woman like? What was she? Was she excited? Was she nervous? What was going on in her head as she did all this hard work, got her paper, did her writing, but also the spiritual realm was opened up to her? Talk to me as to where she landed and what was going on with her.
I wanted to change. I really wanted to step out again, continuing that. I want to find
The
myself.
explorer.
The explorer, I'd have been on a covered wagon if I lived 100 years ago. So I loved we were living in Southern California at that point, and I missed kind of the weather and seasons in the Midwest, but I didn't want to go back to, you know, Ohio.
Yeah,
So I moved to Colorado. I
love
literally
Colorado.
packed up after college and moved to Denver, and things just synchronicities. Oh my gosh, synchronicities started the day I got there, even before I moved. Finding a place to live, connecting with a future partner. Um, and it was another really deep level of opening up. I found myself in a job. It was just like, okay, I have to have a job. My
Hmm.
dad was threatening to come and get me and bring me back if I didn't have a job. So such a sweet thing. I ended up in a job where I was able to again be more creative, bringing that side out, doing promotional things for a company, writing fun little programs and contests, and then had the opportunity to move into sales, which was like scary for me.
Totally
Again, this
different. Yeah.
this shy kid, and I'm still really a bit of an introvert. I waffle. I've learned to move through it, but it gave me the opportunity to really learn to stand up in front of people and not hide as much. Let my authentic self start to shine and start to be out. And it just kept opening more and more levels of inquiry. And I really got serious with spiritual study at that point too when I moved to Colorado because everything was new, everything was
Everything in
possible.
Colorado is about spirituality anyway.
I know, exactly. And and it's interesting because when I moved there, my mom was like, well, why are you moving to Colorado? And gave her the reasons. She said, well, you always said you were going to live here. I'm like, what? Some trip when we were going across country, I guess I was at the top of Eisenhower Pass and there was snow. It was summer. And I'm like, matter of fact, supposedly, I just said, I'm going to live here someday. And she never forgot that and reminded me of that. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm where I belong. So, thank you, God. The universe, got me where I needed to be in so many ways. So it's been this perpetual unfolding and learning to have the confidence to stand out and be who I am and figure out who that is.
Yeah.
That's,
I love your
I
life,
certainly,
Anne.
yeah.
I try to tell people, I try to educate people that your life is not a random thing. It is a synchronized, orchestrated process that is happening, but many of us are not aware of it until one gets into the journey. And then as you walk into the journey and you begin to explore and you're starting your process because it's leading you to a specific thing. And I tell people every job that you have is for a reason. And Anna's laid out hers. First one was the imagination. She's using the imagination. But the designers, and I call that designer God, that knew that he wants her to be comfortable dealing with people. So he has to begin to initiate the process by which she's going to do that. How is he going to do that? He's going to get her a job selling, doing sales. So when she is doing sales, what is she doing? She is now expressing herself. She's coming out from behind or inside the closet, if you
Yes,
will, and
literally.
she's stepping out, allowing herself to be trained, not knowing it, to be outside of herself. Why? Because that same skill set is going to be needed later on in our life. Everything in your life is a synchronized process. It just not happen. You just
I
have to
so
be
agree.
aware of it. Go ahead.
I so agree. I've done talks to, school kids, and it's like every single silly little job you've had, a summer job when you were, in high school, or everything is giving you the tools that you need
Hmm.
in your toolbox so that when a situation comes up, they're there for you.
Yeah,
You have that. It's ready.
it's stored.
Yeah, absolutely. That was kind of helping break that shell, getting me comfortable, um, being seen,
Hmm.
really, being seen.
What type of sales, Anna, did you do?
Well, the company I had a job with, I actually was selling for a liquor wholesaler.
Nice.
I was the here's my feminist claim to fame. I
Yeah.
was the first woman in the state of Colorado to sell hard liquor.
See?
I these
Powerful stuff.
wonderful, what they call whiskey drummers, these guys in their 60s, gray, and they'd been out
Hmm.
selling liquor forever. And here's this little 20-something-year-old, fresh-faced, innocent, kind of learning. And
Yeah,
I started doing promotions, and they like, you should sell. We want you to start. So they kind of encouraged me, and
yeah,
these craggy guys who've been doing this forever were skeptical, and I blew them out of the water the first month. I think
yeah.
maybe because it was a novelty, you know, there's a woman. That's,
And then they realize your
and
competition.
then they're like, "Wow, no, no," they were so supportive. They were like, "We're just really proud of you." And I'm like,
Yeah,
so it just, and that reinforcement, the support too that I got from these professionals, they, I mean, literally, they were back in the day, they, a whole different way of doing business, but it broke out another shell and got me more comfortable again, kind of being out and expressing my creativity and trusting. That was such a part of it. Starting to trust and starting to listen to that guidance, and learning to listen to my inner guidance has been the key for me, that divine intuition
hmm,
that we all have, but so many of us don't pay attention to or don't know how to recognize it. It really started to guide me at that point, and I really started to learn to recognize it.
yeah. That intuition piece of us, I tell people, is very important because it is you. It is the only piece that man does not know how to manipulate. And so, because of that, you should trust it more than anything else because your feelings can be manipulated. Your five senses can be manipulated by any individual. You fall in love with someone, you'll see how easy that is. But
Yeah.
your intuition, that's where the red flags comes from. That intuition in your being is looking at you. You're looking at this handsome man and handsome girl, and your intuition is going run. But you and I, what we do is sit down and go, man, that's a handsome looking man, a handsome looking girl. She loves my music. We talk ourselves out of that thing that is telling us run. And you and I must pay attention to that individual because that individual is you. Again, I said earlier that when one is sensitive, the intuition of that individual, the soul, the spirit of that individual is sensitive to what? To energy.
Hmm.
Everyone is energy. So if it tells you that that energy that is before you is not good stuff, run because it's familiar with that energetic level and it's giving you the opportunity to not go into a life of pain because there's a couple of teachers out there, obedience. If you listen to that intuition and you obey and you do your thing, your life will be, that's one teacher. Disobedience is another one when you don't listen and it breeds pain, and pain is another teacher. There are many teachers out there. It's which ones you choose to learn from, and they're all out there ready and willing to teach you. But it's your choice, my choice, to
It's
decide who is
absolutely,
going to teach us.
absolutely our choice. And that's interesting because that was one of the huge lessons for me while I was living in Colorado. I came this close to getting married, and my intuition, those red flags, you talked about the red flags, just, crazy about the guy, but all these things were just something's not right. And I listened. I had so many friends that like, oh, I wouldn't be divorced if I, had the courage to walk away from a wedding that was essentially all planned and almost ready to go. It was a tough decision, and it caused a lot of turmoil in me, a lot of questioning after I did that for several years. Did I
Hmm.
do the right thing? Should I have gone through with it? I now know that that was exactly the right thing to do. I
Yeah,
was listening, even though I didn't really understand how my intuition was guiding me, or that it really, how powerful
most of
that
us
was.
don't.
I something in me knew to trust that,
Yeah.
even over and above the love that I felt for this person
Uh-huh.
and the commitment I had made. Somehow it was like, okay, this is more important for you to step back and honor and respect these feelings that you have, this inner knowing, trust it. That was the first big lesson for me in really, really learning to listen to that and how
Self-love.
powerful it can be.
These, I hear people all the time, Anna, talking about self-love, not understanding what that means. What Anna just talked about, that intuition, that's self-love. Are you guys listening to me? That is self-love because she saved herself so much trauma and pain. Self-love demands that you listen to self. You can't love yourself if you're not listening to yourself. People think it's just clinging,
And that
bringing glasses and party life. That has nothing to do with self-love.
mm-mm.
Self-love is being obedient to self. Inside that is telling you, run, don't do this, don't do that. That's self-love. And that's how you learn self-respect, honor, all of those different things. You have to learn that with yourself first for you to recognize when someone is not giving it to you.
Absolutely, and it's a skill, learning to listen to our intuition, that
But yeah,
intuitive, it's like anything else, the more you
you have
practice
to
it, the
practice.
more you pay attention, the easier it gets. It's like, I know your voice. You call me, I'll know it's Ken.
Yeah.
It gets that comfortable where,
Yes.
okay, as subtle as the messages are, most of the time, I listen.
Yeah.
I'm still human. Every once in a while,
It's that
my
quiet voice.
rational mind takes over, and it's like, "No, I wanna
It's
go
that
this way."
quiet voice because the rational mind is always loud and screaming. The quiet
It's
voice,
bullied sometimes. It can
yes,
be a
it is a
bully.
bully. It's that quiet voice that is telling you, no, this is the right way. And that bully will come and try to pull you away from it. But listen to self. Don't listen to the mind of the body. Listen to the subconscious mind. And psychology will say that. And religion will say this, listen to the soul of that man, the individual. That's who you are. Begin to be aware and know where that is coming from. Okay, you're moving through life, girl. You in Colorado, Denver. I love the place. I love Boulder as well.
Yeah.
Love that space. It's just great energy, energetic location, Denver. And you're learning. You're tapping into the subconscious being and being obedient to self. talk to me as to when your world, because it always happens, your world is going good, and then all of a sudden, all hell. I tell people life is like Bolero, and then it's just, and it just keeps building up, and then one day you hear those crashing cymbals and you want to know what the hell just happened. So talk to me when you started experiencing the crashing cymbals, if you will, the intensity of life as it's beginning to build up and starts to demand your attention. Talk to me as to that process and how did that come about and what was the incidents that caused those cymbals to sound crashing to wake you up?
Just exactly as you mentioned. Things seemed to be good. Life was good. I had an opportunity to move back to California. My sister was starting a business and, oh, come on, come help me. I didn't really necessarily want to go back, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like, all right, I need to do this. I can, I mean, implosion, everything imploded, everything. I didn't have a house. I had had a company car. I didn't have a car. All of a sudden, I'm back living in a place that I did not like.
Yeah.
Would not have been up in the desert. Not my. I go from the beautiful mountains to this desert.
Yeah.
Everything just kind of like whoa, and it did not work. Working with family sometimes is a challenge. This did not work well.
Mm-hmm.
Our business went on to be successful, but it was not the fit for me, but it got me back to the place that I needed to be. It got me where I needed to be, and that was a spot in Southern California in Orange County. And that's where my serious spiritual growth started. That really gave me the opportunity to dig deep, to start learning to really understand how to tap into this divine wisdom that we have, this energy, how to all of the mind body tools I started learning. I had the opportunity to get rid of a lot of emotional baggage from, the patterns, those set points that I got from my family. All of that, because I was around my family again. So part of what was nice about Colorado was, yeah, I had freedom. I didn't have the family issues or drama. So I plot myself smack right back in the middle of all of that drama.
Yeah. All the
Universe, God
triggers,
did. It's like,
all
here's
the
where you need to
triggers.
be. Okay, you think you got it now. Wait, just
Yeah.
wait till you see what we have coming. But extraordinary, extraordinary growth period for me.
Yeah.
As difficult as it was truly the foundation of my spiritual life. It truly
Yeah.
was, of my
It's
really being clear on that connection with spirit, on that connection with the energy in the universe, and how to live with it, how to work with it to enhance my life.
yeah,
That was so
pain,
powerful.
pain is the only mechanism or process that I know of on known to man to get man in touch with himself at a deep level. There is no other mechanism that I know because if life is good, I don't need to know who I am. I'm not aware of it. I don't need to be. I'm hanging out, partying, having a good time. But the mechanism known to man on this planet that allows man the opportunity to get familiar with the power of the self is pain. It is the only way. And that process, the Bible puts it this way, tribulation works patient, and it begins to list a degree of character traits that tribulation produces. And so the individual soul, the subconscious being now is going to be molded and his character is going to manifest differently as a result of tribulation. That's the only time we see it.
Without question. And I've been blessed with the opportunity to have that happen more than once in my
Yeah.
life.
Oh yeah. Me too.
It keeps
It's
coming around. It's
keeps
that
coming.
spiral. It's like you're coming around, things are good, and then, okay, now you get the next boost of energy to move to the next level.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we have those quiet times where we can kind of rest and get
Time of
grounded,
rest.
but it lasts a period, and then here's the next opportunity to learn and to grow
Yeah.
and to
It's
really explore
seasons. The principle is
seasons.
there's a season for this, there's a season, a time and season. And so that is same as in nature, it is also in life. You have a season of rest. There was back in the day of history, because I love history, there was a season for war, that the kings will go to war. There were seasons of certain things. And so in life, there is season of rest. There's a season to learn and tribulation, but it comes out and it takes you to a deeper level of yourself. You begin to learn more about you because you are so expansive, if you will, as an individual, as a being, that it takes those type times for you to have access to see how beautiful you are. Because in that space, you're going to start applying tools. What were some of those tools that you began to incorporate in your life? Anna, we talked to them. We mentioned a couple before we started the podcast about gratitude. There's a couple of other, things there that we bring in to assist us through our tribulation. What were some of those things? Because we're learning and you're unearthing a lot of pain, a lot of trauma that you suffered as a young woman, and now you have to deal with it. You're in the midst of your triggers, your family, and so they're going to be coming front and center. And you've been exposed to spirituality. You know that you can't cuss them out when you want to grow. So what tools did you bring into your life to help you so that you don't cuss them out and so that you would change?
Meditation was and is huge.
Yeah.
Making that time to breathe, to center. I had been studying yoga and doing yoga in Colorado. So it kind of, the seeds were planted there, a lot of the seeds, but I really started honing those skills, all of the, kind of mind body skills. Meditation, huge. Breathing, how to center myself in the midst of, chaos, like a tornado is going around. How to get myself in the eye of the storm where there's a moment that I can calm myself. And that's for me meditation, where I can then reach out and grab one thing and handle that and do the other. I'm not being spun around by all of the chaos. I have a clear perspective and a centeredness in that. Meditation brings that to me. We talked about gratitude, focusing on the gifts in my life, focusing on what's working. The mind is so powerful, and that's part of what I work on in my coaching business, is how to really use that mind to focus on the good, focus on where you want. We talked about universe always says yes. God always says yes. So we have to be careful with what we are asking, because you're going to get it.
Oh, yeah.
If you're asking for things that aren't in alignment with who you are becoming, with who you are essentially, then you're going to hit some turbulence. And again, that's another way to learn. It's like, nope, you're off track. You're off track. Let's get you back on your path. So meditation was key. Gratitude, just staying focused on not only what I'm grateful for, but learning to use visualization, sensory imagination, because most of the signals that we get in our body every single second come into our organs first, our body. Only 1% hits the brain, or our senses. And this makes so much sense when you start working with intuition, because it comes through that gut feeling. It comes through that little voice. Oh, that little voice has spoken to me so often. It comes through our senses. So working with our senses to essentially reprogram or create a vision of where we want to go, whether that's spiritual growth. If it's, there's no large or small, there's no right or wrong. It could be the divine job that you want, really a job that gives you the opportunity to use your skills and fulfill and give back. Whatever that is, or a creative endeavor, tapping into that and really getting clear. So using those senses to kind of reprogram, re-engineer your mind to be focused on the good and where you want to go and the growth and what you have to give has
Yeah,
been really powerful.
I hope you guys are listening to Anna. She's talking about, guys. She laid out the process as to how one moves through your situation. Meditation is my thing. It saved my life. Meditation. The breath, I tell people, is the bridge between the supernatural and the natural. When you learn how to utilize the breath, I'm telling you, it is the bridge that transports you from the natural realm into the supernatural via meditation and so forth. You tap into all the different tools she talked about in there, yoga. She talks about, all these different tools that you and I can utilize, gratitude. These are powerful tools that you can use to assist you in your process of developing and changing and creating your world. Let me tell you something, guys. You are creators. All of us are creators. We create by how you have the thoughts that come around in the world, like their thoughts comes, they're not fluid. I mean, they're fluid. They're just coming in and out. They come all kinds of crazy thoughts. What you pick, you and I are meditators. Our being is designed to meditate day and night, regardless if you're across your leg or with your hands, like you see the classical stuff. That's not it. You're meditating while you're working about that bill that you haven't been able to pay, how you're going to pay it, about the problem with your wife, with your husband. You're meditating on it. And what you're doing is that you are focusing the being of us, that when we focus on a particular thing, it magnifies and becomes a reality because we believe that thought.
Law of attraction.
And so when we activate, because we are a creator, with our negative thoughts that we've been thinking all day, we are actually creating that whole thing. And I promise you, it will come to pass. That is why your life is the way it is, because you are a creator, period. You don't have to go on your journey to know that you're a creator. You are a creator right now before you go on your journey. Now, what type of life do you want to create is all up to you. And that's what the journey is about. Reprogramming yourself, because you've been programming yourself for 30 plus 40 years, 50 years about the negative. And so then you have to learn the process that is put in place to reprogram yourself so that you can recreate what you want, taking thoughts and utilizing the process. The imagination, you take one of those thoughts, plug it into the imagination, and you will bring it up, make it lighter, make it brighter, and that imagination will bring that thing to life. This is what, guys, you're listening to this woman who's been through this, and she's telling you how to change your world, exactly how to change it. I listen to this woman and get back and learn and come out. We're going to provide all of her links that you get into her courses. Become a disciple. Get into her. I'm going to ask her a couple of things. We're not done yet because I want her to talk to us about her process, because as she's going through all this pain and all of these revelation of self and digging deep and whatever, she is now going to learn to develop a process which will escort her out into her assignment. Talk to me about that, Anna, that process as you are changing and developing self. And then as you begin to use those things on yourself, you're your first client, as you're seeing the result of it in your life, what did it make you feel like when you began to see it? Tangible evidence of all of your work. What did it do to you? And what process did you start to develop to achieve those tangible results?
I love that you said I'm my first client, because you're right.
Yeah.
I went ahead and did some of the work, and now that's my gift, is to be able to share that. But I get emotional. Well, I was, even when we were talking before, I start getting emotional about being able to share this, being able to share these things that I have learned the hard way. As we all do, that's where we really learn, is in those imploded times, those times when we're really struggling. It forces us to learn the lessons. There are so many things that have shone the light on this process for me.
Mm-hmm.
Visualizing. I'll jump back to when I was in Denver. I was moving to wanting another house, and I'd been learning to play piano. And this is just a specific one. And I'd been renting a piano, so I wasn't going to move it to the house. And I'm like, I knew what I wanted in my mind, the house, what elements I had, kind of how I wanted 2-story. So I got really clear on what I wanted that to look like. And I had the audacity and somehow knew to say, I want a house with a piano because I want to keep learning the piano. I want a house with a piano. And we looked at a number of places and we drove up to one house and I had just a really strong feeling because it looked kind of like what I had in my mind. And as we're walking through the house, we went down in the basement and what do we find? There's a piano in the basement with a sign on it that says comes with the house. It doesn't get much more clear than
Yeah,
that.
that's it, isn't it? It's powerful. The mind is a powerful tool.
It and that's where you have to be careful where you focus it and that
Yeah.
you're focusing it on the positive.
Uh-huh.
So that was such an early experience. I'm like, wow, I look what I can do. Look what I can do with my mind when I open this up. Um, I've been guided into jobs that didn't seem like they were maybe quite right, in a transition period. Well, I need to have a job. This one, this will be a good temporary job. And then it turned out within a week to be like the best job I ever had, much more than what it looked like it was going to be, more prosperous, more, all of that. And moving through that, learning through that. Again, it was more expanding in that upward period. And then I had the implosion again. Then I had another implosion that was the catalyst to get me to move. Again, I get these crazy things. I've been living in San Francisco. My job ended due to industry things. I had a legal issue with the guy that I co-owned a building with. And all of a sudden this perfect, beautiful life went, and all I knew to do was to tap into my inner core. So I was
Yeah.
breathing and I said, I just need to go on top of a mountain and meditate. I need to get my clarity. About a day and a half later, my cousin called and said, I'm going to an ashram in India. Would you like to go with me? And the ashram happened to be on the top of a mountain.
Yeah, isn't that something?
God
Yeah.
speaks really clearly sometimes
Yeah. Yeah.
if we listen. And I came back from that and I, was smart enough to listen and not to stay and deal with finding another job or another thing. I came back with the clarity that it was time for me to move on, to leave the area, to move. Now I didn't get the whole picture, and this is how it always works for me. I got to know this much, I
Little
get to know
pieces.
3 feet in front of me. So I moved to Washington, and there I am with a new house and not knowing anyone, and it's like, okay, I'm here for a reason. What is it I'm here to do? What is it I need to do? And over a couple of months, I got clear. I learned some tools how to figure out what that is. And that's some of what I share in the process in my coaching is some of the things that I learned to let's clarify. What do I love? What am I not seeing? And as women, particularly, things that come easy to us, we tend to dismiss. And I think that's true for men as well. If you really have to work hard at it, somehow we value that more than these innate gifts, these innate skills that are there for us. So learning to recognize and appreciate and honor those gifts that we have that are our innate abilities helps move us through life a little more smoothly too. So it was the next amazing opportunity that I was guided to. So I had to have the courage and the faith to trust it, to trust that guidance that I was getting, those sensory images, that inner wisdom, and took that leap of faith. And it's always been positive for me, or new at the very least neutral. But it's always, essentially mostly it's been positive, moving me forward.
Anna, let me ask you this question because initially when we first started, you said one of the things that you're excited about is to talk to women about, especially those that are in a midlife crisis and those that are, are going through some tough times and are afraid to even step out. You have a mic, and that mic is connected to all the women, the specific women, just the ones that you are interested in. That mic is connected to all of them, just like that. What would you say to them?
It's never too late. Never. Dreams have no deadline. You're called to what you need to be doing at the divine right time. And it's learning to trust that. So often midlife, we've taken care of the kids, we've had the first or second career, the family, maybe the kids are out of the house, and there's a feeling, there's a unnamed, unidentifiable urge or inkling or calling that may not be clear. What is that? And it's moving you to the next. It's moving them to that next stage, tapping into that awareness. There's so many processes. It's looking at, personally, I believe we know what we're supposed to do from a very early age, but the rational, the reality, we have to get a job. It may not be exactly what we like, for me, writing. I didn't get a job in writing. I got a job that paid the bills, did other things. So really learning to listen to that. But it's never too late. I know so many stories of people 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s really finding their stride and doing ultimately that thing that they are here to do. That gift that they have, that knowledge that they've garnered along the way, whether it's sharing for the next generation or developing a creative skill, that comes to you. And I think midlife, it's not a midlife crisis. It's a midlife calling you to the next step, to that. There's a freedom, like traveling. There's a freedom when you get past that, you're raising the family and dealing with that. And that's an important part of life. But there's another stage. I totally believe, and in my own life, I've experienced this. The second half of life, it's like the fourth quarter. It's like fourth quarter in football. It's where all the good stuff happens.
The Hail Mary pass, that's all about
The
faith
Hail
and
Mary
stuff.
passes. It's like people get ripped. Okay, come on, we're going to do this, and you have the choice to do it or not. Power. We always have that. That's our job. That's our choice. But to listen to that and to have the courage and the faith to follow that guidance that we're getting.
I ask Anna that question because I know many of you, I could sense it, many of you are stuck there. The kids are gone. Many of you may be in contemplating divorce and splitting and all kinds of crazy stuff right here.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's important that one has some guidance, if you will, someone that has been through all of that type of approach and some hard things in life, the traumas that one has to face, deal with, the triggers that comes with that, discovering them, the tools necessary to walk through the pain, to become that new individual, change your perspective. Many of you are just trapped there because of your old perspective. I can't do it, oh, this and that. I have someone who's been through that and had those conversations with herself and have answered those questions that you have. Many of you are afraid to answer it, but I have someone that have the courage to answer it and to tell you the answers so that you can have an opportunity to become. This world is waiting for you. There's gifts that you have that only certain amount of people will be free from your conversation. So you need to take that risk, that chance, and enjoy your freedom. Hannah,
It's
thank
not.
you.
Oftentimes people just don't know where to begin, even if they
Yeah.
know they want to move forward. How do I start?
Yeah.
Where do you even begin to figure out what that is and how to start taking those steps to make it
Yeah, we're going to
real?
provide you guys everything for you to get to her. I suggest you do, especially all those ladies that are getting close to those midlife crisis. Get her advice before it becomes that so that you're able to walk through it a little more easier and a little more skillfully, if you will, so that it doesn't manifest in all kinds of craziness. But I just want to thank Anna for coming and allowing us this time. It's been an hour already that I've kept her and asked these questions to extract all of the wisdom that she has inside. And I know we didn't even touch the surface yet. And so I want to give you guys access to her. We're going to provide all of that. Be a disciple, get into her space, be a disciple, be a friend, be a confidant so that she can walk with you, show you
Yeah,
that there's more to life just by being obedient, taking that jump of faith and listening to yourself. Hannah, thank you so much for coming.
it's my pleasure, truly. Thank you, Ken.
It's an honor.
Thanks for tuning in to Threads of Enlightenment with Ken Primus. Hopefully you're now feeling more empowered to overcome the challenges in your life, whatever they may be. Share that inspiration with others by telling them about this podcast, rating it, and of course, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. For more connection, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching for Threads of Enlightenment. Until next time, stay enlightened.